Where is John?
I don't know. Didn't you tell him it was almost 4 o'clock?
Well, it's Friday, right?
It is Friday.
Okay. Hang on, let me see. Did he text you or anything like that?
He didn't text me.
It's Friday. It's
Why
4.
Why would he text me?
I don't know. This is weird. I don't know where he is.
I haven't seen him all day, really.
No. Let's see if he's. Oh wait. Oh. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, let me tell you, it has been a tough couple of days. Whew, I'm back. I'm here. Welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. It's Friday, right?
Yeah, it's Friday.
Oh. It was a tough week. It was a tough week. Whew, welcome to the Friday. No, welcome to the Nutmeg Tavern. And come in, have a seat. It's rather empty in here today. No Ryan behind the bar. We were supposed to have punch in the bowl. Remember that last week? We got the bowl in from was that Little Bunny Sunshine, right? She sent that. Yep. Thank you so much. No punch. I've got some hot tea to wake me up, and no Ryan behind the scenes on the other side of
they met us already.
The time frame.
Yeah, we're waiting on you.
Aaron on the console. Hey, it's been hard. Kyle is back there in the chat and coming up with questions and what is this weird stuff here? Wow.
So you're just napping, huh?
Thanks for being here. I'm trying to catch up with my rest. It was tough. This week I was traveling a lot. Had a couple of different airplane flights, 3 different airplane flights. Normally I drive everywhere. It's been like 15 years since I flew because I don't like flying. I don't think it's fun, and I'd rather drive 12 hours than spend 12 hours waiting in the airport and then flying a little bit and then wait and all that stuff. So
and they're red eyes too.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. So it was a red eye back. Landing at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was terrible. I mean, they pack you into those airplanes. There was not a single seat. It was a red eye, completely full. They were paying money for people not to get on because they overbooked the flight, and
I'm sure they made you take off your period shoes.
They wouldn't even. They confiscated. The TSA confiscated my nutmeg.
Oh,
it was that bad. It was that bad. So, yeah, and you can't wear buckle shoes on because you don't know how to do that.
And there's also coming off of the Philly trip too. Which I know it was a couple weeks ago, but still.
Yeah, it's a lot of travel packed in. It made me think about today's topic of travel, because you go through all those things. I mean, okay, I was riding in an Uber, we get rear-ended, bam. I mean, wow. It was like travel nightmares and tight connections and everything else. But I'm here. We're doing those live stream one way or the other. Let's start off with a couple of questions. Let's see how it goes.
Okay. Loved the shrimp recipe. Why do you do so few seafood videos?
Well, because we are in Indiana, and we are a long way from any kind of seafood. So seafood isn't the first thing that pops up in our minds. It's like, let's I like this kind of dish. Let me look for something similar in the past. Well, we don't eat a ton of seafood here, and so it isn't something that we connect with a lot.
Curious if you have run into any recipes from your books that are totally not safe to cook and eat by today's standards.
Well, probably almost all of them in some way, shape, or form. Certainly the way, I've got one planned coming up, and I don't want to give it away. So, darn, this is a tricky one. Did I kill anybody yet with any of the recipes? The smelt The
No.
salted
No,
snow.
I tried that. That was like 4 years ago. I was still here.
But I think that was how we misinterpreted the recipe on that one.
All of them have been pretty safe.
I mean, stockfish almost killed us, but then you cooked
Yeah,
it.
but then we cooked it. So, yeah, I'll have to chew on that one. Get it?
Oh.
Hey, where is
tired.
Ryan, by the way? Today?
Ryan is headed out to an event, so he isn't just slacking, like he is so much to do. He's actually headed out to the fair at New Boston. That's Springfield,
Kind of like north of Dayton.
Ohio. Yeah, it's around the Dayton area. Really fun event there at the fair at New Boston.
He was going to try to stay, but he needed to go and set up for that. He was going to try and stick around. So he's
So
gone.
Ryan is gone. He's going to be at that event. If you're in that area, that Dayton and a little south of there, Piqua, Ohio, all that kind of area, even probably over to Columbus, drive over there to the fair at New Boston. A tremendous event. You will really enjoy it. Very, very fun place. So check that out.
Real quick, someone was asking about the Philly trip video. I am cutting it right now. I've been cutting it the last few days. We've had other projects.
That's
to work
part of
on
a
too.
bigger series,
Yeah.
so it might wait just a little bit to kind of fall in line with those. We'll see how that project is only just getting started, and so the timing of that will be. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, and it's going together really well so far.
Although that's some bad audio.
Yeah, well, only one spot, but
Right.
it's definitely going to be a very different video than what we normally do. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming out
Excuse
soon.
me.
Though.
I'm still getting over it.
They think you're delirious.
Well,
You're going through it, man.
yeah. Kyle, another question. Wake me up.
Another one. Okay. Have you rejected any recipes that just sounded like food poisoning to come?
Well, again, it's coming up. It's you're just gonna have to wait for this.
I don't
one.
even think I know about
You
this one.
know, yeah, it's in Amelia Simmons's cookbook,
Okay.
and I was just reading through it the other day. It's not in the recipe section, but it's in the food section where she's talking about purchasing things, and I ran into this, and it's like, whoa, you can't give us those kind of directions. I'm gonna have to try this one. It's like, so if that's the last episode you ever see, you'll know maybe that it wasn't such a good idea.
What is your favorite fish recipe you've ever created to date?
Well, I mean, if shrimp is in the
Yeah.
fish category, then obviously you want to do that shrimp episode.
I don't think people understand how good that shrimp was.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah, it was
phenomenal.
really good. Maybe it was the shrimp I picked out. I don't know.
I think stockfish, as far as like entertaining episode to make.
Yeah,
and
but it's
try-
expensive to get.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You can
Video
get,
did well though, so
Yeah.
it was worth it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I got a giant 20-pound thing of stockfish, and
Probably got
I
more
still
than
have
you
some
needed.
left, just in case you're
Oh,
interested.
well, that's good. You do want leftovers. Hey, I'm gonna do some donations.
And
real
it never
quick,
goes
just to-
bad. That's the good part.
Well, I
Because
don't know.
it's
if it
already
can
smelled
go
like
bad.
it's gone bad.
Right. I'm gonna get some donations done just to get those, and we'll keep moving on, get into today's topic. You need to catch up on some sleep, man.
Yeah, I know.
Keltoid5, thank you.
Thank you.
Says just because I have the day off, just because I have the day off and get to a full live stream. Oh, donation just 'cause I
Woohoo,
did. Right
yeah.
on. Thank you. Aaron C says, I think you need a shot of the old Red Bull. Yes, I agree. Tyson Q, thank you, says, love you guys. Thanks a lot. Brilliant Love 2, thank you. I received my mug, t-shirt, and catalog. Can't wait to order more. Fast delivery, and the mug is such amazing quality. Again, thank you so much.
Glad you like it.
Thank you. And then Max are cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thinking of your travel, John. How far and how much would average folks have traveled during a year in the 18th century? Most likely on foot if they traveled at all.
Yeah.
We'll we'll get into that here in a minute.
Yeah, that's part of some of the topic that's coming up.
Sure. But yeah, thanks everyone who's
Yeah.
donated so far. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and jump into the topic just for fun? And
Can you see? Be careful. It was kind of unplugging and it may have glitched the stream out. So
Yeah,
you might just have to chill right there with it.
I don't have the. Can you reopen the window?
Oh, did it get unplugged?
Yeah, I don't. I just have the.
Okay, hold on.
I've got something. There we go.
There we go. Okay, yeah, it did get
We
unplugged.
got it.
Yeah, sorry
Okay.
about that earlier. It
Looks
was like
good.
glitching
Thanks.
out. You bumped it when you were getting up from your nap. You wiggled the cord.
I'm sorry. So I was thinking about the travel. I lots of travel this week. These 4 hours on an airplane, the airport, the waiting, the traveling by car, Ubers and other sorts of ground travel, and thinking, boy, I don't want to do this again. And then it immediately connected. It's like, wait a minute, there's all these great just 18th century parallels that are just popping up all over the place. And I just thought it was such a great topic to kind of compare and contrast some of the things that are going on. And so I kind of immediately some things popped into my head. I need to go and check this reference and that reference. And a couple of things that I've been listening to recently, came into my mind, and I was thinking about this idea of being jostled together in a stagecoach. It's like that red eye. Okay, everybody's crammed in there. It's dark. The place is full of weird characters. You've been on an airplane where you're thinking, like, half these people are really, really weird. There's probably some just incredible stories here in the seat beside me or whatever. So The Adventures of Roderick Random is what popped up into my head immediately. It's fiction, but of course it's not science fiction. It's fiction, meaning it's sort of an extension of real life. He's telling a story, and Adventures of Roderick Random, a lot like something like a David Copperfield story of 100 years earlier. Smollett writes these adventures. And he has several pieces. The Roderick Random one is great. All these adventures happen to him, and he's traveling as a boy on foot. He's going from Scotland, trying to go down to London. Can't remember the exact reason for that. Let me see if I can find this little beginning piece. Anyway, he said, I found myself so fatigued that I began to despair of performing our journey on foot, and therefore desired Strap, his companion, to inquire if there was any wagon, return horses, or other cheap carriage in this place to depart for London the next day. He informed me that the wagon for Newcastle, or from Newcastle to London, had halted there 2 nights ago, and that it would be an easy matter to overtake it, if not the next day, at the farthest the day after next. So they want to get on board some piece of transport here. It's a wagon. It's not really a stage, kind of like a stagecoach, but a real low class stagecoach, right? It's traveling so fast that on foot they can overtake it. So they don't have to wait. They just have to kind of a quick brisk walk, and they will catch up with this just so fast means of transport. And they do catch up to it the next day. It's not to the next stage yet, to the next stopping point, and so they get on board. And he says, and he's like getting into this carriage. However, I crept in, and by accident, I got to an empty place in the straw, which I immediately took possession of without being able to discern the faces of my fellow travelers in the dark. Strap, following me, his companion, he had the knapsack on his back. He chanced to take the other side, and by a jolt of the carriage, pitched directly onto the stomach of the captain, one of the other passengers, who bellowed out in a most dreadful manner, "Blood and thunder! Where's my sword?" And he gets all mad, and he tries to attack this guy. Can you imagine you jump into this, probably daylight, and you jump into this carriage or fall into it, and it's all dark, you can't see what's going on. There aren't really even kind of seats in this thing. It's like a box on wheels. Sometimes they had, seats if it was a higher class one. Sometimes it was just sort of a box with straw on the floor, and everybody just sort of sat in this carriage. Wagon, they call it. Really, it doesn't have any springs, anything like that. So you're just jostled and banged around, and it's going maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour at the max. They stop at an inn. They have great, funny adventures. The next morning, I agreed to give the master of the wagon 10 shillings for my passage to London, provided that Strap, his companion, should be allowed to take my place should I be disposed to walk. So he was going to ride in the wagon. His accompanying fellow was going to walk along the side, and if he got tired of being jostled around, they'd switch places. So this transport is just terrible. It was like that red eye, right? Just like, oh man. There's this wonderful book by Roy Porter that talks about the English society through the 18th century. And people ask a lot of questions on the channel about, this or that in the 18th century. And one of the tricks about answering those is that a lot of things are changing through the 18th century. So from 1700 to 1800, there are revolutionary changes happening both in England and in North America at the time. So the roads, even in England, were not very good in 1700. And through that time period, they get a lot better. And so there's a table here talking about the speeds at which travel could be accomplished, these coaches that would go from one place to another. And I think the greatest example here is Edinburgh, way up the top in Scotland, down to London. In 1700, it took 256 hours to travel that distance. How many days is that? That's like more than 10 days. If you were traveling 24 hours to get from there to there. It was so much faster to go by sea that most of the time that's how you would do it instead of by land, because the roads were just that bad. Same thing is happening, especially in this same time period, 1700, in the colonies, because all the colonies are right along the coast and the roads are terrible, so it's much easier to get into a little ship, a brig, a sloop, and travel from one place to another. Bath, England to London, 1700, it took 50 hours. By 1800, it took 16 hours. So like a third of that time. Today you travel by car, something like 3 hours to take that same trip. So it's changing a lot. Is it really expensive? 2 to 3 pence per mile. That's very expensive in that time period to travel that kind of way. I don't know what it would happen in the colonies, what kind of cost that was. And they aren't really having those kind of coaches until much later in the 18th century, like 1790s or so. So that's what's going on. This one parson in 1774, he takes a trip 100 miles from Oxford to Castlecarry, and it cost £4, 8 shillings. It cost him almost 10 pence a mile. Really expensive to travel that way. Let's look at some of those pictures. What do we got up front here? So this is one of those 18th century carriages, and we can see there's room on the inside. There's the person running the coach on the outside, and then they've got people on top. And that's sort of like that whole idea of you ride in first class or economy, right? So economy is you're going to have to ride on the top of the coach, or maybe in this basket on the back. We'll look at another picture in a bit. If first class is you get to ride inside. I don't really know if it's that much better. At least you're out of the weather. If it was going to rain on you, go ahead and go to the next one. Yeah, some of these coaches were bigger. So this one's got a lot more room in the back, and it doesn't have that little back area where they could put stuff. This one must have been really that sort of this 747. We're going to pack a lot of people in this guy, so it's got a lot more room to it. Go ahead and go to the next one. This was like a picture in front of one of these stage inns. So they did have inn tavern kind of things that were along these standard stops. Every 10, 15 miles, there would be a stop. People could get out. There would be food. They might change the horses. there was a chance for new passengers to get on, other passengers to get off. There was a really interesting guy. I'd pick up this thing and look at him closer if I could. But go ahead and go on to the next one. I'm sure there was another thing I wanted to say about this one. This is actually an image of, or a painting that was supposed to be Bath, England. At the time, one of those places that people would, you would go on an excursion to, and it got very popular in the 18th century. So you can see they had a band playing, so people would, come in, like if you went to the airport and there was music playing or something like that. Live music. Go ahead. Which one is this one? Okay, yeah, this is the Hogarth painting, and is great. Look in the back of this carriage, and there's a big basket in the back. It's sometimes called the rumble tumble, where people might ride back there. You might throw luggage, all kinds of weird stuff. You get kind of jostled around back there, and there's an old woman sitting in the back of this one. And I'm going to try to pick this up. Hopefully it doesn't get messed up. There we go. And the little guy standing behind, right in front of the wheel, you can tell by his boots, he's a postilion. He's somebody who's there to actually take care of that wagon. There's one of those guys up on top is a sailor. You can tell by his pants and his little cane. He's a sailor. And there was actually a law, or somebody wanted to pass a law. The guy's name was Gammon. He wanted to pass a law that said that depending on the size of the coach, only so many people could ride on top. It's like, no, if you've got 4 horses, you can't have more than 8 people on top of a stagecoach. Go ahead to the next picture. So imagine how difficult it would be if, it was like, oh, you have to cross a river, there isn't a bridge. You'd have special ferries that your coach would get onto, and then it would ferry the coach across. I'm sure that was never dangerous. Go ahead here.
No accidents.
Yeah, no accidents ever happen with that one. Here's our accident. Here's the Uber getting tail-ended here. A small carriage, and the thing is out of control. It's crazy. Here is interesting. The postilion isn't riding on the carriage like you might think somebody's riding a carriage. He's riding the horse. And there might be times when you would have somebody on the back of this, or on the front of it, like you would think of a regular stagecoach driver. And then a lot of times there was actually somebody riding the horses out front, guiding it instead of somebody in the back. And he's even got a jockey cap. Looks like a baseball cap of the time period. Go ahead. This is this is a Rembrandt from 1660, and you can see the carriage there. And you can even see these, the studs or the little nails around here. A lot of times these were covered with black leather, and the leather was tacked on to these carriages. I don't know if that held it together better or kept the dust out, or wow, it must have been crazy. Go ahead. Yeah, another one of these stagecoach inns, and somebody's taking care of the horses out front or just having fun with them. Lots of people on the top, and they loaded these things up. They loaded them up, squished as many people in there as possible, just like today. You get on the airplane, it's like, nope, we're going to try to jam as many people as we possibly can into this mode of transport. Go ahead. And sometimes it was just a wagon. You might take travel in just straight up a farm wagon. These are military guys. They probably took over a farmer's wagon to use that for transporting. They're putting these are probably camp followers, and families went along with the military at times. They've got their farm wagon that's going to take them. Go ahead. And the mail is going by coach much later on. This is late. This is like 1805 or so. And the mail is traveling by coach, but you could also get on board as a passenger with the mail. Can't do that today. And there's the guy in the back with the horn, get out of our way. Everybody get out of the way, because the mail's going fast. Maybe all up to 6 or 8 miles an hour. So be very careful. Was that the last one, or is there another one? Yeah, another one. There's another sailor who's I don't know, taking money, giving money to the postilion. Again, he's riding on the horse instead of sort of sitting on the coach, and you can tell by his pants. He's an old-fashioned sailor at this time too. Is there one more? I think that's back around to the beginning. Yeah. So there you go. There was another section out of Roderick Random before he gets into this carriage. He was riding in a pack horse. So there was a pack horse with these saddlebags or 2 big baskets on either side, and he had his backpack in one side, and he was riding in the basket on one side. That was such a rough way of traveling. He's like, no, I'd rather walk. This isn't worth it. You can imagine, though, all these different ways of getting transport in the 18th century. Was there one more thing I wanted to talk about? I think there was one more piece. Yeah. So I was thinking about those stories. Hasn't happened to me recently. It's happened in the past. You board the airplane. Everybody's there. You're waiting. Nothing. What's going on? Why aren't we leaving? We were supposed to leave 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago, an hour ago. You're still sitting in the airplane. Every once in a while they bing, and they say something which doesn't answer the question about what's happening. You're hoping that the engine isn't broken and somebody's out there with a wrench trying to fix it. Sometimes it's, the pilot actually hasn't checked in yet. He's not there. So that happens in the 18th century, like all the time. It's like, oh, this ship is going to sail on the 13th. Make sure you're here so you're on time. We don't want you to slow us down. And you get there on the 13th, and we're not going to sail for a whole nother week. That happens to Cresswell. He's ready to sail. They tell him to be there at a certain date, and it's like, no, we're not going to do that. And he had enough time that he could go and take a course on navigation and then come back and still catch the ride in the ship. Another great traveling story or kind of mini book is Henry Fielding's Voyage to Lisbon. And same sort of thing happens to him where, it's like, okay, it's time to sail. Nothing. They wait 2 weeks on board ship. Nothing. They're not going. So, there's nothing new under the sun. Our travel woes are, well, can you imagine how long it would have taken to, if you're flying like 5 hours, it would have taken 3 years to get there by their standards in the 18th century. So we have it lucky, I guess. But wow. Whew. There you go. That's my topic for today. What do you think, guys?
That's pretty awesome, actually. There's some of those paintings, some of those carriages look a little rowdy.
Yeah. There was talk about rude and clamorous.
Yeah, that would have been one at the end.
Yeah,
just pile in.
Yeah.
It would probably be kind of fun for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, cool, the view, it's nice out, and then it's get me out of here.
Yeah.
Do you want to do? Whew. I have some donations, but I vote we do some more questions.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and do a couple questions.
Yeah.
Do any of your children have interest in the family business? Yes.
Well, the answer is yes. My children, let's see. Well, Lauren does bookkeeping and customer service, and she'll work on other projects too. She makes hats. My mother, who's probably watching now, not one of my children, but she still makes sashes even after all these years. Stop doing that. Somebody else can make sashes. Sydney currently is a paramedic, but she used to make tents here, so she has worked in the business. Jonathan, her husband, has worked here in the past. Ivy loves to come and help at the store. She'll come and pack boxes. She can't get paid because she's too young for that, but she can certainly work, and so we put her to work. So oh yeah, lots of. It's a family business. And Aaron, he's like my other son,
Yeah.
and he works here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, everyone knows.
wow.
Well, I've been here since I was 18,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah,
Hanging in there.
a long time.
The
a long
long
time.
haul. Yep.
How did the stock market operate back then in comparison to today's?
You know, I don't know that it was all that different. I mean, obviously, they didn't have, computer programs buying and selling stock. But there were certainly all the same sorts of things that you would expect. I don't know if they had they sort of had almost a mutual fund thing going on, conglomerations, and they had, people buying and selling stocks in speculative ways. You could get people to buy stock for you, sort of a broker situation. And there were all the ups and downs, like stock market crashes, the South Sea bubble, and crazy things happening like that. So it's amazingly not that different in so many different ways. Maybe not the idea that it was so easy for general public and a great quantity of the public to actually invest, which has its pluses and minuses. So, yeah, not that different.
How long did it take for goods to reach the colonies from France or England? England.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the typical cargo travel. So sometimes it could go pretty quickly. Something might travel and get to the colonies in 6 or 8 weeks. And then other times, if a ship has bad luck, and that's the deal. It's like, if you're on an airplane, either it gets there or it doesn't. And it almost always gets there. If it starts, it's going to get there at basically the right time. But with a ship sailing with the wind, sometimes you hit a big storm and, half your sails are gone, or it takes you 6 months to get there. So those kinds of things can happen. And of course, you had all these trouble with ships being taken. If there was any kind of warfare going on, that just would devastate that commercial shipping, because you were worried that privateers or men of war would take you as would capture you. And so it got very, very difficult to get goods to go from one place to another when those kinds of things were happening.
Were there a lot of exotic pets in the 18th century?
If it was common for sailors to get exotic pets because they went strange places. Now, their pet might not last very long on board ship. You go from warm to cold places, and your strange exotic pet that was used to 90-degree heat, dies when it gets 50 outside. So that can happen. Sometimes you see some exotic things. I think the strangest thing was the popularity of having squirrels as a pet. But I think people today have much stranger pets than they would have in the 18th century.
This one says, I've been learning a lot about, and I'm probably going to butcher this word, cochineal bug?
Cochineal, yeah.
Okay. And the other natural dyes. Was curious if you had any videos on dyes that they used in the 18th century and how they processed and used them.
We've touched on it. We did an interview with somebody who does natural dyeing way back when. That was 2 or 3 years ago, and we didn't get a chance to really get in depth into the individual kind of components of that. And the laundress, Carol, if you're out there, Maggie, she's probably out there watching right now. She's done a lot of dyeing too. And it's a very wonderful, complex, filled with great, science in there that they kind of figured out on their own. Some things, some color, some plant or mineral you might use, and it would be one color if you used it this way, and another color if you did it a different way. And it's a wonderful topic, and you could really spend a great deal of time. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that episode. It's one that we should really plan out.
Let me do some donations real
Sure.
quick, and then Well,
yeah, I got some other things.
you got
to-
some
yeah, I got
show
some
and
other
tell
stuff here.
right,
It's
right.
terrible. But
Terrible.
It's good.
It's great.
It's good. It's
wonderful. What was the last one? Max was the last one. So this is Tom. I think he said it's pronounced Mika. Thank you so much. Enjoy a restful weekend with a grog of mead and buttered water. Oh yeah, looking forward to it. Lousy Muffin. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the fascinating pictures and information. No, not a problem. And then Keltoid 5. Thank you.
Yeah.
How about stories of brigands, highwaymen, and land pirates?
There was a lot of that going on in the 18th century, England, North America. So yeah, there'd be a great topic, and we probably get some great visuals to go along with that. So
Oh yeah.
excellent suggestion. A couple things came in this week while I was gone. Jennifer Grow. I don't have a close-up picture, but there are these buttons that say nutmeg, 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 nutmeg all over them. Woohoo! Thank you, Jennifer, for
Hey, toss this to me.
yeah.
Open up on the wall. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, she says, thank you for the amazing YouTube channel, positive educational fun, and talking about how she enjoys mushroom ketchup. And hey, don't we all? So, I know I do. And there was a wonderful letter. Let me show it to you. There's the back of it. It even had sealing wax. Sorry, post office.
Oh shoot.
Yeah. Audrey, I think it's Audrey Herrer. She wrote this with oxgall ink in that same kind of cool, 18th century manner, folding it all up. And I love that.
That's awesome.
So cool. From, I think it's Ballynameen in Ireland. Hopefully I got that right. It's hard to read this. It's tricky. We'll see what this. It's really interesting to see the way the ink colors are when they're kind of fresh, and what this will look like as the acid burns through the paper. We'll save this. Use this as documentation for that. So thank you for your wonderful letter.
Yeah.
Shoo. There we go.
Do you want to do some Patreon names real quick?
Yeah, Patreon.
We'll do some more questions.
Patreon this week, because I got to get it every week or else the list gets too long. We have wonderful people that support us on Patreon. This is, I think it's Diddy Jensen, Bill Michael, Kyle Barrett, Chip Bush, someone that's just Matt. So
That's fine.
Matt. And maybe I could get away with that. Just John.
John.
Just John.
That's the name of the YouTube channel.
Yeah, John.
John.
Stephanie Corwin and Georgette Shepard. Thank you guys, every one of you, and all you Patreon supporters.
Yes.
You help make the channel possible. So
Yes.
thank you for what
Thank-
you do.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Let's do some more questions, Kyle.
Okay. John, when a woman was widowed, what happened to them if they had no family to take care of them?
Well, it depends on where they're at, because the way that sort of, I don't know if we'd call that a destitute person. If that person's in need, and more than likely widows are in need, they might be able to support themselves by a job, but there's both the kind of two-leaved thing going on there, where there is church support for some of that, and then when you're in England and those kind of English colonies, since the state and the church were sort of glued together in a great extent, that the parish poor laws are going to take effect in those situations. And so they will look at that situation, look at their the amount of worldly goods that they have, the kind of support they have, and decide how to take care of them. And each one of these sort of locations and parishes kind of dealt with that as, per the situation. And if you had a widow who wasn't from that area, they would definitely try to send that widow back to wherever she belonged, because each parish kind of said, I have to take care of the people that live here, and if you're not from here, you need to go back to wherever you're from. So there was always that tension there of how do we deal with that? Because each one was its own little separate unit. All these laws and all the way this was done in England at the time gets sort of transported to the colonies, because that's where all our ideas about law and how this, government is set up, where all those come from. And so in the colonies, the same sort of thing is happening. And there are situations where they might just give money to help support that widow in wherever she's at, if she's in that kind of a situation, or they might sort of find someone to take care of her. So they would say, who's gonna take care of this person? Will you take care of this person? Will you take them into your house for £5 a year, for £10 a year? And they would have people sort of bidding on taking care of destitute folks that like a widow that couldn't support themselves.
Yeah, Carol's saying, no, where'd that one go? Poor relief, stuff like that, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
So that's a poor relief situation the state or the local government basically is going to deal with. And that all these things are changing and shifting all through that 18th century, how they deal with it. They're experimenting with those laws. Like every government is saying, is this system working? Should we try it a different way? And so they're continually trying to figure out, the best way to do that. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse.
Why were school marms not allowed to marry back then?
Well, I think we get most of that from what's happening in the 19th century in North America. And I can't speak to that a great deal because what's happening in the 18th century isn't like that to a great extent. So I don't know. I don't know how to go about that. Definitely the idea of who's schooling is changing through this time period. And you'll get a lot more men doing the instruction and tutelage of children in the 18th century. But that is all ad hoc. It's all happening. There aren't sort of systematized public school situations where the state is paying for the education of children directly like we have today. So it's hard for us to gauge, how much different education was in the 18th century compared to what we've been living with for the last 100 years or so.
Were people still worried about witchcraft during the colonial times?
It's definitely moving away from that. I mean, colonial times. So obviously, if we take colonial times 1620, it's going to be a lot of different idea. I mean, we had the Salem witch trials that were happening later than that. But by the time you get to the 17th century, most of that is disappearing. There is still sort of, kind of wives' tale-y kind of talk within the community about that sort of thing, but there isn't sort of the same kind of we're gonna prosecute or persecute these people directly. And most of the time it was just, it's an old woman and nobody's there to defend her, and she's a little weird, so we're gonna call her this or that. And I don't know what to say beyond that.
This one says, I shot a wild boar today. What are some historic pork recipes?
Wow. There's some boar recipes. There's some. I think one of the tricks is to look for brawn recipes. So that's one of the things they're kind of hidden under. And there's some. One of the ones we want to kind of schedule to do, but it's a big one. It's a lot more difficult. Is doing that sort of whole hog barbecue-y. They did that in the 18th century. So that would be where I'd go.
Can you talk about? He already did. I was going to say, can you talk about travel in North America, 18th century?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
We'll have to.
Yeah, just
rewatch
go
the
back and
stream.
rewatch the live stream.
Rewind about
Yeah. Sorry.
40 minutes.
Have you found recipes or life techniques of olden days that you use regularly in everyday life?
My life is so blended with the 18th century anymore that I cannot remember what is and isn't. right? I just live this like pour stuff in and blend it, and then it's like I don't know. I use 18th century techniques or ideas in everything I do because, I mean, isn't life just taking different ideas and, sticking them onto your life and moving forward? I don't know. I'd have to think about it to come up with a really good example.
Can I get a couple donations real quick?
You can, Aaron.
Cool.
Go ahead. Come on in.
Thank you, John. All right, so you gotta remember where we left off. Caltoid 5 we did last. Okay, so Colby Sinor, thank you. Any interest in doing a maritime episode on board an actual ship?
Are you kidding?
Definitely.
Are you kidding?
Definitely. What? I don't think he's kidding.
Go ahead.
Have one
Next
planned?
question. Next question.
Jim Lindley, thank you so much. I enjoyed hearing about 18th century travel. Yeah, it sounded wild.
Yeah.
The real Retox, thank you. Made ginger beer, bread pudding, rice pudding, and the beef soup with quick drop dumplings.
Yeah.
After seeing your videos, loved it all. Have a
Excellent.
great long weekend.
Whoa, I'm
everyone.
glad you liked them.
Yeah. I love hearing people
Yeah.
saying they've
Yeah,
done the
yeah.
recipes. They're all awesome. Tina Burford, thank you. About paintings, the ones depicting kittens that show birds/cages. Could
Yeah.
birds in the kitchens have been used as canaries in mines as
I
gas/CO2?
thought about that.
Write that one down. We'll come back to that one. That's
Yeah.
a good question. Ali Capone, thank you.
Thank you, Alan.
Just wanted to say hello and thank you for all the educational content you and your channel provides. I especially love the recent letter writing and sealing wax videos.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, those turned out great.
Yeah.
Tyler N. How prevalent were tattoos and did they have any stigmas associated? Thank you, everyone.
tattoos.
One more real quick.
Yeah.
Discover with Pajerico, I believe. The pleasure of the past being relevant still today. Right on. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, every one of you.
Oh, yeah.
Whew.
And I'll help you out if you need to remember.
Well, I've got. Is there anything before the canaries question?
I think they're all just
Okay.
complimentary
So
ones.
canaries.
Well, the maritime one, the episode on board
kitchen-
ship.
Yeah. Well, hey, if anybody happens to have an 18th
Yeah.
century ship and you would
Please.
like to have us come and do an episode, just give me a ring. Be there anytime. Canaries, bird cages, you see them all the time in paintings of kitchens in the 18th century. I don't want to have a bird in my kitchen. I don't know. I think that a lot of times we can't always take what we see in the paintings as like photographic proof of a situation. A lot of what's going on in paintings, although it's very, very helpful, is symbolic. Now, they may have had bird cages in there. Could it have been that they were waiting for the bird to keel over from carbon monoxide poisoning and they knew to get out of the kitchen so they wouldn't die? I doubt it. Yeah, I don't know.
It is interesting because they're always in those paintings.
Somebody's probably got the answer out there for that one.
Yeah.
But I have not run into it. Or if I did, I forgot. Next question was tattoos. Did they have stigma? Were they popular? Tattoos were popular, could be popular. You don't see them very often in illustrations with sailors. There's even an early 19th century database of sailor tattoos. So they were recognizing them as an identifier. Why they were like recording those at the time, and I mean sometimes they would use that to identify like runaways. If you were an indentured servant or somebody, they would use that as and sailors were very often doing that sort of thing. Those guys running off when they are not supposed to. They would use those records to be able to identify sailors that they were trying to apprehend for some reason. I can't believe it. But other folks with tattoos, nope. No, not that I've seen at all.
There weren't full sleeves or anything like that at
No.
the time.
No.
Nothing like that.
No, and I mean, tattoos were semi-rare when I was a kid, so
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. It is a fair.
we just,
really
I mean, we get used to things today, and it seems so normal, and it wasn't that long ago that it wasn't.
Yep. Let's do a few more questions, and then we can probably start getting into lightning round here in
Yeah.
a bit. We started a little
Oh,
early today,
yeah.
and we're
It's
ready
gonna
for
be
that weekend. You know.
Let's see.
Yes.
I got. Let's pick out 2 more big questions and then lightning round. How about
Yes,
that?
Do it.
yes.
All right. How did they ship fish in the non-coastal areas of North America?
Well, they would salt them or they would dry them. You do see a little bit of reference to carting of fish in sort of wet, tanky kind of situations. In England, getting them inland a little bit further. You don't see a lot of that, but I've seen at least a little bit of reference to that where they're trying to keep those fish kind of fresh, But in North America, yeah, you're not. It's just going to be salt fish or stockfish, and I even saw some reference to that. Very well-to-do people, and not that far inland, eating saltfish and stockfish in the 18th century. I was very surprised by that.
Okay. And this question was actually asked last week, but we didn't get to it.
Okay.
Did they do reenactments in the 18th century, like French and Indian War reenactments or Ren fairs?
They had some interest in that sort of thing, but so like in the Civil War, or especially the Centennial in 1876, they were playing around with 1776, and there was even that new colonial style in that late 19th century where they were copying colonial styles and sort of changing them a little bit, and playing around with those ideas 100 years later, which I thought is kind of funny and interesting. But beyond that, I think there was not reenactment per se, though. Certainly not stuff that was in the close, distant, or the close past. So not any idea that they were going to reenact the French and Indian War that only happened,
Right.
20 years earlier. They certainly didn't have that.
Let me do 2 donations, then we'll do lightning round.
Yes.
And then we'll go. There's another one from Colby Sinner. Thank you. He says, search around. We got 2 in Grace Harbor, Washington. They're talking about ships. The Lady Washington and the Hawaiian Chieftain, but one closer to y'all, I think, is the Lynx.
I don't know about the Lynx. We've got not that far, only 4 hours or so north, is the Friends Goodwill that's up on Lake Michigan. We talked about connecting with those.
Definitely. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome.
I haven't heard of the Lynx, so I'll look that one up.
Yeah, thank you. This is from Amber. Thank you. I've been stuck in the 18th century since we hit it in school, so Townsend's
Great.
is the general store of my life.
Yay!
Your videos simply make my life better. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
That's a great comment.
Thank you.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
Let's do this.
Here we go. Are you ready, John?
Take a deep breath. Let's go.
All right. Did they have such things as quill pals back in the day?
Quill pals, like a pen pal,
Like a
right?
pen
I
pal.
get it. I get it. That was funny. I don't know. I'll say yes, but I don't know.
Okay. Did they have and use fire pistons?
I have not. I think I've seen maybe a little reference to fire pistons, and that's a little mucket that you put a little piece of char in, and then you hit it, and the compressed air causes, or compression, whatever, causes it to start to burn. Boy. They'd have to
These are
show me the
actually-
documentation on
Actually,
that one.
fascinating little tools. I
Yeah,
have
they
one
are.
at
They're
home.
really cool, but I don't know about documenting them.
Will you be doing a Christmas mug soon?
We're talking about that. We'll see what happens.
Are those clouds on your vest?
No, they're flowers. Yeah, this is a block printed waistcoat.
Were there any type of soda beverages available during that time?
Ginger beer and spruce beer. Go and check the episodes.
Would you ever consider doing a Halloween ghost story myth episode?
We've been considering it, yeah.
Hey, I'm supposed to be answering these.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to do it quick.
I really
here.
want to.
They want to. I'll have to work on that. It's hard. It's hard.
What type of clothing did people wear when they went to bed?
Well, I would stand up. My shirt's not tucked in. Standard 18th century work shirt is a lot like what we think of as a nightshirt. It's, your shirt in the 18th century was your underwear. And a lot of times you didn't see it. I mean, you would cover this up. I would normally, if I was going outside, I would have a coat on. Even if I was in the house, I might have a banyan, which is like a smoking jacket on, with like a robe. So your shirt is your sleeping garment, and even you would have a hat, like a nightcap, looked a lot like a work cap. Maybe you had a little tassel, it was white, and you'd wear that. So that's kind of what night clothes are like. Faster, John, faster.
Whoa. What was the most eaten meat in the 18th century?
It's like the longest, slowest lightning ever. What was that question again?
Most eaten meat.
Most eaten meat. Salt pork would be inexpensive if that's what we're trying to get to. Or fish was probably one of the least expensive kinds of foods that you would be able to get a hold of that was meat. Yeah, there. That was there. Okay. Fast answer.
Is there a favorite historical place of yours?
I love them all.
And last but not least, if you're watching Outlander, they're using period utensils. Are any of them yours?
We have certainly sold a good number of things to Outlander. I have no idea what we shipped to Outlander. Do you have any idea what we shipped to Outlander?
More than likely, you are seeing our utensils.
There you go.
Being used.
Yes. That was an easy answer. He should have answered that one.
Sorry.
Was that the last one?
That was.
Okay, I have 2 more donations.
Yes.
And then you can go to sleep.
Yes.
This is from Non-Mirage Truth Vision. Thank you. Hyper Michigan. Any episodes on leg traps? We haven't done any.
No, we have not covered trapping or any of that.
Not really.
But leg traps are the typical kind. You don't have anything like a conibear in the 18th century.
Right. And then another one from Keltoid 5. Thank you so much. It says, today is my birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. I would sing it, except I'm not a singer.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Happy birthday to you. There you go.
Okay. He says, got a 10-pound wheel of Parmesan and a big pile of Townsend cooking loot.
And you're not inviting me over?
Yeah,
I'll bring the nutmeg.
Thanks for having a live stream just for me. Yep, no problem. Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
That's it. Let's do this.
We did it. We did it. I can go home now or just crash here on the floor again to recover from my week. And it was a good week, but wow. And I'm so thankful to be home again and here in the tavern with all you guys coming in and sharing the time here in the Nutmeg Tavern. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Special thank you to Audrey here who sent the letter. And who was it? It was Jennifer Grow who sent the button. Thank you. And thank you, all you folks on the Super Chat, helping to do what we do here. Patreon supporters, you help us make these videos. They can take a lot of time. Sometimes we got to go weird places or buy weird things or whatever it is. You help us do that. And everyone out there who watches those videos, comments on them. Hey, have you seen the subscriber number? We're like that close.
It might hit 1 million. We won't
So,
even know.
you can go ahead and tell your friends to get us. Of course, once we hit the 1 million, it's like,
Yeah. It's not cool till 10 after that.
But you guys are what makes it happen on this channel. We could not do it without you. Thank you so much, and thanks for watching today.
Donation from David Donnelly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
We'll do this one real quick. I just saw you in a beer documentary. Where was that, and how was it cooking at that hearth?
Yeah. So you watched the, what is it called?
Gosh, I can't
Tears,
remember the name.
something.
It was really good.
Beer and Tears and something. Oh gosh, I
don't
can't
think
remember
that's
it.
it at all.
There's a beer documentary, and yeah, I think that one. If it was the Spruce Beer episode section, it was shot at Fort Wayne. Great location, fun. We love to go there and shoot videos. We go do that occasionally. We also shot some in our kitchen, but I don't know what section they saw. So, boy, if I could only remember the name of that documentary.
I feel bad.
Yeah,
It's really good.
We'll mention it next week.
Yep. All right.
Thank you guys so much.
Goodbye.
See you next week.